Hi, welcome to Indigo Goddess. I am lyndsybluepixie, and I am here with Megan Mermaid. Indigo Ash will be here in a little bit. I'm so excited about this guest. I just met her a few minutes ago, and I'm so excited. Megan, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Megan Mermaid, and I am the oracle for the High Council of Syrian Elders, as well as the Mermaids of Sirius. And my work is focused around bringing in the message of mermaid consciousness, which is a path to ascension based in beauty, bliss, and sovereign sensuality. So the first 8 mermaids in my High Council represent the 8 chakras, and each of them have a gift and also teach us about how to integrate our shadow. So I'm really excited. I've been working on a book and an oracle deck and all of these different things for several years. And I'm finally at this point now where like everything is almost complete. So I'm so excited to be here with you.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. I love that so much. I have recently had some weird experiences in my life, and I started writing a book about maybe 8 to 10 years ago. And I started writing it, and it's interesting looking back on it now, and I couldn't finish, and then I didn't write it for a few years, and then I went to massage school and learned about I just started doing crystal healing. So I did energy work with my aesthetics. I've done a lot of paths. And then I started doing crystal healing with massage work. And oh, yay, Ashley's here.
Yay! I know I let her in.
Oh, yay. And so I feel like I couldn't finish writing the book until I had more information. And then I saw this crystal city, and I had been thinking it was a past life for a little bit. And I met my friend's son, and immediately he like we had this connection, and he starts telling me the story about his dreams, and I'm remembering, and then he starts telling me my book. And I took pause, and it kind of, and like I had these flood of memories, and then he remembered me. So I guess I'm coming out right now, but I was told I was a fairy princess, basically, a fairy queen of this realm. And I'm like, that is weird, but I'm like, I identify with a fairy princess because I am one. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. But yeah, he said he remembered me, and then I start having memories, and I can't explain it, but and I feel drawn to like Andromedan galaxy, but I don't know. I've been trying to get more of these memories back. I also spoke to like this other person who remembered, and it just like with the three of us remembering similar events, like how do you deny that, right?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And I love how you even got confirmation about all of this stuff. And one of the things that really stood out to me that you said, Lindsay, was that you had to experience these things first. And I feel like so much of book writing is the book writes you. So much of it is experiential. You go through all of that. And then after you have these experiences, you write about them and overcome all the resistances to writing. So I love that you have all of this information now that you're a fairy queen and all elementals are amazing. Fairies, mermaids, we're all buddies. So yeah.
Absolutely. It's interesting because I somehow got in touch with this other lady through other means. I feel like through divine whatever soul families are coming together, and connections that need to be. And she was the queen of this other planet, and she was the planet for a while, but like, so she's trying to find Hadarians. And it's interesting because I feel like I had interactions with her, like we could galactically travel maybe, and had different states of being. I don't know, something that maybe we can't understand until we're there.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. And I love how like every time we meet someone, it's almost like we get another piece of the puzzle. Like, oh wow, I was also here and I was over here and I was here doing this. And yeah, past life stuff is so fun. It's so interesting to learn about.
Absolutely. I've always identified with mermaids too since I was little. Like I used to swim like a mermaid. I still do. But like identifying with just outs like magical beings. I had this memory of like mermaids coming out of the water and like almost like it was portals through the water to the different planets. This is like a download I had. I don't know if it was true or not, but it was something I saw and it felt like a memory. And coming to like our council of 8 or whatever, and like almost like there's some intergalactic hierarchy or where we're all connecting as light beings on different, I don't know.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so when you were talking about how it's like the water took you to the other portals, I've had a lot of visions about that too, where it's almost like space is very similar to water, and it's almost like you can go under the water into these other realms, and um, yeah, it's just so interesting, and I love that you've always had like these connections to mermaids. What do you think that you enjoy most about mermaids?
Well, I've always said I'm a freshwater mermaid because the ocean scares me. But water in general, which is I'm a Capricorn, so I'm an earth sign, but I feel like water cleanses me. And just that is just the idea of being free in the water and just it's just so cleansing. And it has a different feel of um that freedom and just being a part of the water as a mermaid because you live within the water, you know.
That's so beautiful. It is super cleansing. And I love how the water just always reminds us how to be in flow. Like, water is literally the strongest force that there is in the entire universe. And its strength is found in its ability to change and shapeshift, but it can always go back to its original form. So I love that you shared that. There's so much we can learn about water.
Water is amazing. My friend Margaret always says if we knew the powers of water, we would drink a lot more of it. I have Genesis stone I put in my water. I work at a crystal shop and it actually charges water. It makes it structured. And so it's good. And then I always tell my water I love it. Like water holds memory and it also holds um, vibration. So what we tell our water, is we can internalize, and water is amazing.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna have to get more info about this Genesis stone. And I love that you work at a I love that you work at a crystal store because that's one of the things that I would love to learn more about, and I just haven't yet. But what I do is something similar. So I'll say like affirmations over my water, especially like in the morning, and then I have a little like it's a bowl that I put salt water in, and then I add crystals and seashells, and it's almost like my holy water. So I have it on my mermaid altar, and I'll anoint myself, or like I'll kind of like cleanse the room with it. But there's so much that we can do with water, and I love when we add these other crystals and things to it because it just it's so fun to explore like all the different things that we can do and all the different uses for crystals.
Absolutely. I've been wanting to put a line of elixirs together where you can do different things with crystals. For example, a peach adventuring is good for the skin. And so you can put it in the water and it will actually take on the properties and help your skin by putting it in something. So there's lots of different ways you can use elixirs and crystals and water.
Oh, cool. Oh my gosh, you should start posting about those because I would love to learn more. Okay, I'm gonna have to get peach adventuring now.
I This is one of my projects I'm doing right now is this learning or doing the best things for crystal grids and just putting together different stones together in different compilations and also doing yeah, the elixirs. I want to do more. So, woohoo! So yes, as soon as they're ready, maybe I'll just send you some.
Well, and I wanted to hop in and just say, sorry I'm late, but
Oh, good.
one of the things I have been considering about water is if we think about literally eons of knowledge and experience and stuff like that that water has. And so when we drink any water, I feel like we're partaking of all of that knowledge, all of that power, all of that experience and stuff like that. And so I've been thanking the water for teaching me, for healing me, for showing me what I need to know, because I feel like water has some amazing, amazing properties to it. So I just wanted to hop in and say that. So
Thank you for
Oh,
sharing that, Ashley.
absolutely. And please speak more. I know you said you weren't sure if you could speak up. So, yeah, yeah, water, crystals, all that is fascinating. So Megan, what do you do? How have you, I know that you have your channel and stuff, but what other projects do you have going on?
Um, I see clients one-on-one for galactic channeled readings and personal sessions, which are almost like sort of like astrological healing sessions. And what else am I doing? I've been doing my own podcast too called Conversations with Friends. And
Oh,
so
yes, I saw one. They're lovely.
yeah, and it was weird. I had this idea where and maybe like all of us are starting to get these downloads of just like needing to create more content and co-create with people, because I got the download to start Conversations with Friends and just really start highlighting like all of the extraordinary things that all of these people around me are doing. And then I'm also doing another podcast with a good friend of mine. She has so I work with the mermaids and she works with the big cat. So we sort of have these like sister councils. And then I also teach like dance fitness classes. So that's sort of something that I want to figure out how to incorporate later on in like healing through dance and coming back to our like sensuality and all of those things, because it's super related to mermaid energy. And we store so much energy in our bodies, and dancing is like such a powerful way to come back to, well, think about it, like when an animal goes through trauma, it'll just like shake it off or like it'll do something. But for us, we hold so much trauma inside of our bodies. So when we start doing certain moves, especially if we do the same kind of move or just kind of intuitively listen to what our body is saying, it's such a powerful way to like release the stuckness that we get inside our bodies.
Absolutely. I love when you were saying that, I was thinking about, especially when I was younger, and just get in the lake and then pretend to be a mermaid, but I'd always do like a swirl, just like as fast as I could, just to get all the energy out, just like, because you're weightless in water, right? And it just feels good to just move. And I think of your question earlier, that is something that is important to remember about mermaids, is the weightless movement, right? The dance, like you said. And I think that even, those of us creatures who have, possibly, like, thinking about the dragonfly and the being in the air and the water, it's very similar weightlessness, and how freeing that is, just to think about that we are limitless. And it comes back to and I love, also I wanted to say I love your friends thing, like that's kind of what Ashley and I kind of wanted to start and highlight the amazing gifts of all these beautiful divine feminines and masculines around us that maybe people don't know about, or highlight the supernatural gifts, if you will, and kind of figure it out for ourselves, because we've all kind of had to go on our own journey, and it's nice to have like-minded people on this journey.
Oh, it so is. It so is. And I feel like we all have a key. And so the more that we have these conversations, it like sparks something in you and it sparks something in them. And it's just amazing how when we consciously all come together, like it's a like biblically there's this saying that says where two or more are gathered, but there's actual truth to that, because it's like the more bodies that are in one space form, the more consciousness has the ability to fill that space. And so the more that we come together in a conscious way, in a high vibrational way, and we co-create, the more that can come through, so much more than if we're just trying to do it on our own, and it's so much more fun.
Absolutely.
Definitely
Ashley,
not as lonely as it used to be on this path, which is wonderful. Because growing up, I feel like me and Lindsay and our friend Margaret, we didn't realize that a lot of the drama that was happening around us was probably created partially because we were so powerful and we were causing a lot of chaos. And as we've learned and looking back at like these little girls running around with such like strong empathic abilities and psychic abilities and things like that, it sure makes a lot more sense about our childhoods, right, Linz? Like it was an interesting time. So I'm really grateful to be on this path with all these other wonderful goddesses.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you guys too for, being pioneers in this, because I feel like we're finally in a space where more and more people are waking up. But you're right, it wasn't always like that. And it wasn't always easy to just share this information or to have like conversations about crystals or mermaids without people thinking you were weird or woo-woo. And so, now we get to explore all of this stuff. And, even for me, it's been like this unraveling little by little. And like every time, like I think I'm like, okay, like I'm comfortable talking about mermaid stuff. And then they're like, okay, now you got to talk about aliens. And I'm like, oh man, are people going to think I'm weird? Will they take me seriously? So, and then like after a year or so, I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm talking about starseed stuff. And then they're like, all right, time to talk about the psychedelics. And I'm like, so every time it's like taking the next step and like vulnerability about talking about these things, especially if they're not widely accepted or not widely known. And it's like it takes a lot of trust when we're on this path to follow the steps that we're being guided to take, and to speak up about the things that we enjoy and the things that make us who we are.
Absolutely. And I think the more of us because I think there's lots of us who kind of do feel a little crazy because we have these memories, and then I'm like, no, I know it's a memory. And then someone confirms it. And then you're like, okay. And it helps when other people talk about it. And I know that when you resonate, and your vibration, the people who are meant to hear our messages will be here. And I get stuff out of it if no one else does, and I know that we will bring in the people we are meant to hear, because there's probably a lot of mermaids, a lot of fairies out there that think they're crazy, or witches, like
Mhm.
Ashley is a sorceress, like lots of because we have been ridiculed. And think about how many past lives we probably have been ridiculed for our beliefs because of the darkness that's been
Tortured.
represented.
Yeah, tortured for. Um, it was really funny recently because when Lindsay met that boy that she was telling us the story about, and they had the same memory, she was literally vibrating. Like her whole body was just, quivering. And it was like at the same moment that she had parked on the street, and I was out for a walk with my husband and my sister, and we're just walking, and I look up in the sky and there is a giant. I mean, he had to have been a mile tall. Lindsay came telling her story, and then there's this giant in the sky, and we're just like, and so she and I were both like at almost the exact same moment having the same vibrational intensity, and two totally different stories, but it was it's been wonderful having people who are learning the same stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, what was even weirder is at that same time I came home and I was about to tell her, and she saw the giant. I talked to my friend's son, and he said, after you left, he said he could hear in the fifth dimension. He said, I can't explain it, but I walked in and heard a big boom, like a giant had stepped, and he saw the whole house vibrate and no one else could. And Ashley saw a giant, and like this whole thing happened all at the same time, like it was some sort of sign, and it was the same day the queen died. It was weird.
That's so amazing. And I love how, you know, synchronicities always show us that we're not crazy and we can trust ourselves and we are on the right path. And I love that you guys are getting similar messages. I feel like that happens a lot with my really good friend Leah. And, you know, oftentimes I'll ask for a sign like an animal, and then she'll be like, I just saw an owl, or like owl, like whatever the sign was, like she'll get it. And I'm like, okay, it's easier sometimes to trust if someone else is also seeing it. And I also wanted to ask you, because you said you're a Capricorn and you felt your body was vibrating. So I just felt curious that as an earth sign, do you feel like you get a lot of signs through your body?
That is actually a really good question. Yeah, I feel a lot. And yeah, I'm pretty strong empath, and I've realized this late that I feel vibration, and it's almost like it transmutes to thoughts in my head of other people's vibration and energy. Um, but the earth, especially in trees and stuff, I get tons of signs, like from the leaves and from the grass and from, so yeah, I guess that I never thought about it before, but I do feel, um I even had a rain cloud one time just show up when I was sad. My friend was there, he witnessed the whole thing, and then once I started laughing, it dissipated, and I was like, I don't know what kind of magic I have, but that happened. So yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I'm gonna have to think about that more. Thank you for that.
Well, and I'm a Capricorn too, and I definitely get vibrations or um it used to be anxiety. Like, so I'd feel the anxiety in my stomach, my chest. And over the years I've learned to dismiss that and really check in. Um Usually the anxiety's true and something I'm for it. I taps and knowledge through my body. And so learning to trust that has been.
You cut out at the end there, Ash.
I'm so sorry. I was just saying it's been really important to learn to trust my body. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to what you were sharing, Ashley, about how so many of us are healing from past life trauma, from like the witch wound, and just, you know, being shamed or hurt or tortured for like our feminine intuition and our gifts. And it's really a big deal to do this work, to get back into our body, to actually hear the signs of our body and be present in our bodies. So it's so interesting that you guys are both Capricorns too.
I know. Well, Ash, you're on the cusp, aren't you?
I am. I
There's
am definitely on the cusp.
Yeah, there's this weird thing with her and my other friend Margaret with our birthdays. I can't explain it, but the numbers and everything, and it's like a month after each other, that it does it. It's definitely was purposeful. We came down here together for some reason.
So let me guess, are you a Capricorn?
A Capricorn, she is.
Yeah, I was like, I don't feel the Sag. The Aquarius I could see.
I am a definite total Capricorn, but I have a Sag moon.
I love that. I have a Sag moon
Oh
too.
yeah, well, must be why I feel like I could be your friend.
And I've got a lot of fire. I'm a Leo sun with a Sag moon and then Aquarius rising. So
It's fun. I have a lot of Aquarius friends. My daughter's Aquarius, so Yeah, I have a lot of Aquariuses in my life. How fun.
Yeah, they are fun. My daughter is all earth. It's so funny. She's a Virgo with a Taurus moon and a Cap rising. So I feel like she's meant to like ground me and like make me slow down.
That's awesome. Amazing. Oh, Megan, I wanted to ask you about like how much of your like past lives and as a mermaid or any other past lives that you've remembered, what um where has your journey taken you and what do you know?
That's such a great question. And I feel like I've just been getting like a little bit and then a little bit and a little bit. But so it started where, I was very connected to Sirius, and that was where I felt most connected to. And so I started working with the Mermaids of Sirius, and I had a channel once tell me that the Mermaids of Sirius are designed from the Lyrans and the Syrians. And so I thought that was interesting, but it was like I didn't get that piece yet. And then I started to download more memories of Lyra and what happened. And so basically during the fall of Lyra, there were all of these like rescue missions that were being what's the right word? There were a lot of rescue missions during the time of Lyra, and they were from all these different star nations, and they were led by the Galactic Federation of Light. And so there was a rescue mission from Sirius, and the beings were connected to the Hathors. I don't know if you know much about Hathor or but she's connected to Sirius as well as Egypt. And all of the Hathors were very skilled in like healing through music and art and beauty and singing, and they could actually open stargates like through song and dance. And so the Mermaids of Sirius are a design that is both Syrian and then Lyran. And then if you're not as familiar with Lyran energy, it's also the same thing where Lyrans, their purpose is really just to celebrate and to bring in joy and pleasure and all of these beautiful things. So I saw how it's like I went from Lyra to Sirius, and then I also studied in Arcturus because that's kind of the star nation that's all about like technology, and there's that part of me which is the logical of let me see the data on this and I need to understand this. So I spent a lot of time there, like almost like downloading all of this information about how to create like software, almost like human programming software, because the Mermaids of Sirius offer an ascension technology. So it's almost like this interface that we put over our chakras that like offers protection but also gives us like the qualities of a mermaid to sort of help us to flow like water through the ascension process. So yeah, I've been getting little by little. And then as far as earth, I know I have a lot of lifetimes in Egypt and being a priestess there and doing all kinds of magic and stuff like that, and Avalon and Celtic lifetimes. I feel like and Native American lifetimes too. I don't know as many about my Earth lifetimes yet, but I'd love to hear your experiences, both of you.
Well, Lindsay and I found out together that we were in Arcturus together at one point, so that we may have some crossing paths
Yeah.
with you too. So that's
Oh,
really
yeah.
fun. We'd never even heard that word, and it was back in August, and Lindsay and I were partaking of some fun stuff, and that word came to us, and we're like, what is that? And we're all trying to look it up on our phones and stuff. So it was interesting. But
Yeah, it was fun that it kind of came out of nowhere, and just like I also feel connected to Andromeda, the Andromeda galaxy, and I have a lot of dragons in my life. There's a lot of I've had, like, I do Akashic readings, and I've had my Akashic readings done, and in my Akashic readings it told me I was Fae, and I've had 3 separate people tell me I have 2 fairies with me, and I've just accepted this now. But it's interesting because when I wrote my book, I didn't realize I realize now that I was writing my journey to finding my truth. And so I'm going to rewrite it, but in a different way. um, and so that's the most like that I've had just flashes of memories. It's almost like an inner knowing. I just know that they are memories, but I feel that I'm not allowed to know too much too soon, because it's almost, I need to be further on my path to this so it doesn't distract me from what needs my mission on this earth or something. That's what it feels like. And then I've had one of the weirdest ones. I had a dream, and I have dreams that come true. And so they all have different like premonition dreams, but this one felt like a past life dream. And I had not told Ashley about it. And she did a past life regression, and then she basically told me the details of what I had dreamed about. And so it kind of confirmed that was my first experience. I was in like 14th century France or something, and a whole life kind of came. And then when other people in that life came into my life, the rest of the story kind of came in. It's almost like you can only know what you know that's reflecting back to you. I don't know if that's true, but
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So many things with that. First, when you were talking about Andromeda, I do galactic readings. So I connect a lot of my clients with their star families. And what I found with Andromedan energy is it's all like fairy elemental. Like a lot of times they come through like looking very elven with like these pointy ears, and they're very connected to animals too, like all sorts of animal medicine. And then the other thing is, I remember when I first started doing oracle card readings. It was probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and I had booked a past life regression at a like metaphysical store where I used to live, and then the lady canceled it. And then I was listening to an audio one because I wanted to listen back, and it was like I saw myself like in Italy, like around the 1400s, and all I saw was like my hand go like this, and I had all of these tarot cards in my hand, and it was like I died holding these cards. But then my cat, like she jumped on me and stopped the audio, and I like just realized I was like, that's all I'm supposed to know right now. So I love that you brought that in, that we only get like what's relevant or beneficial. And then the other thing that I've noticed with like past life memories and all of that is that oftentimes what comes through is related to like a pattern or a theme that we're experiencing. And so sometimes it's just us, and then sometimes it'll also be like other people in our lives. Like I met someone recently, and it was weird because like it's very platonic in this lifetime, but I saw how we were connected in Lyra, and like how it was almost like I had to like grieve what happened between us in Lyra, while also like it's so weird how multidimensional this stuff happens.
absolutely. And I feel that when we're on our heart path, especially, and with, I think also with all of the energies rising on the earth and everything, we're being guided to our soul families. And the more people come into our lives, the more we'll spark memories because they were there with us. And I think that is part of remembering. I think about movies with amnesia, and it's the memories that spark, or the people that spark the memories. And once we find our star families and people we connected with, those memories I think will become clearer, and like you said, put the pieces together and figure out what happened. And I think then our memories might just come flooding back once we get enough of us talking about it.
I agree with all of that, because I did a reading for someone last night, and she and I've talked 3 times, and every time I talk to her, she conveys a piece of information that I in the book I'm writing, and I'm like, whoa, that she has that information, and um, like a piece of knowledge that I had maybe not solidified in my own mind about how something would work. And she's like, oh, and then this and this and this. I'm like, well, look at that. You know what I mean? So I do think we're all supposed to be meeting and working together and having cooperation on bringing this information out. And I do feel like perhaps there's a little bit of a kind like speeding up of information coming, which is really exciting because it's faster to process, it's faster to download, and I feel like the connections are happening faster and faster too. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so exciting. And I love that you said that too about it happening faster, because I feel like things that used to take like much longer, like a couple years ago, even like a year ago, like it's speeding up so much and we're moving through so many things quicker. And I feel like you're right, how it's the more we connect to people and like they give us a piece of the puzzle, we give them a piece of the puzzle, and then we integrate it, and it's just happening much more rapidly.
Yes.
I also feel like I process emotions faster lately, and realize that they're not my emotions easier. I was just sitting and, thinking about my own thing. And then suddenly this wave of sadness came in, and I could tell it was like my emotions from a year ago that I didn't process. And I held space for it, loved it, and then let it go. And then I was like, okay, I'm fine. Like, but it almost feels outside myself when I have these emotions, and or even if it's somebody else's emotions, it's not mine, but things that just keep coming up that I need to process to let go of so that we can raise our vibration because they are not serving us anymore.
Yeah, that's so powerful, Lindsay, because I feel like what you shared about like being that witness to our emotions is so powerful because when we go through very traumatic situations, oftentimes we're just like in survival mode, like we're trying to get out of it or we're trying to get through it. And so then when we have that moment where we can like pause and like we're in a good space, like you said, sometimes it'll come back. And I love how you shared how you handled it, where you witnessed it, you breathed through it, you allowed it, and it passed. And that's so powerful. And oftentimes, what I'm learning, especially working with Hathor, is how we can be like the guardian angel, like to ourselves, where it's almost like us now can go back to those moments and like be with that aspect of ourselves that was going through it, and then like take that soul fragment back, and then our future self is like walking us through how we got to where we're going. So it's like we can just like ping all over the place in quantum reality which is fun. But like you shared, I think that's why sometimes the information does feel limited, because if it's not helping us be grounded and present in this reality, then even if it's interesting, it might not be beneficial.
Absolutely. That was something you just triggered me what I wanted to ask you. What does a galactic healing look like? Like, what is your process?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So it's weird because what I found is that I'm almost doing like galactic shamanism, and like I do a lot of soul retrieval work. So sometimes like past life memories will come through. Like I'll get information from the Akashic records either about this lifetime or this lifetime, and then or like other galactic lifetimes, and then like I'll walk the client back through like kind of like witnessing the memory and then calling those soul fragments back. And when we do that kind of work, like soul retrieval work, we don't always have to know all of the details either, especially if it's something like challenging or that it'll like re-traumatize us. But what I found is that when we do kind of like bring that particle or that soul fragment back to us, that we don't necessarily need to know all the details, but it will bring up emotions. So for example, like if you're looking at a lifetime where you were burned at the stake, you might not need to know like what happened or how hot the fire was or all these details that like might re-traumatize you. But when you take that fragment back and you reintegrate it, there might be some grief there, or there might be some sadness, or there might be just something that you need to process. So a lot of that. And then oftentimes the star families will share a lot about how to work with them, what they were doing in previous lifetimes, how it relates to their work now. And then a lot of it too is interesting because even though I work with this galactic consciousness, a lot of times really practical information comes through, like, you know, you should be eating this, or you shouldn't be eating this, or this is the first step that you need to take towards building this, or complete this before you do this, or reach out to this person. So it really just varies, and it depends on the person and the experience, but it's always like super interesting.
Um, what I find interesting is when I'll do a reading for somebody, like a Akashic reading, and I know it's not coming from me because it's like this amazing advice. And I'm like, can I keep that? Like, that's really good advice, because I feel like I'm a channeler, you know, and it's so the information comes through, and until I go back, and because my handwriting's terrible while I'm channeling it, until I retype it, I'm like, wow, that's really good advice. And usually I'll forget most stuff, but if it's for a friend or something, I'll be like, can I keep that advice? But yeah, it's really fun when you get those. And sometimes I feel like they give back to us as channelers. It'll be like for you and that person, and you'll just be like, okay, I'll keep that to me as well.
Yeah, I love that. And it's like double blessing. Plus, I always feel like we magnetize people or experiences that are similar to us. So it's like we don't have to be perfect, but you know, we've gone through these experiences and we've gained whatever wisdom from that experience. And then oftentimes we'll attract other people that are going through that or have gone through that. And then, you know, we're like a few steps ahead that we can say, hey, like this worked for me or this worked for me. And it kind of reminds me of how you said you wrote your book based on like your voice, your perspective. And now it's almost like once you get that out, you can reframe it on how like you can share what worked for you, like that other people can also benefit from. So I think that's like the two stages where it's like we do our own healing journey, and then we get to this space in our healing journey where we're like, oh my gosh, like I've healed so much, like I've gained so much, like now I want to help other people. And so it's just so beautiful to know that like whatever clients or people in our life that are coming to us, it's for a reason. Like we have the medicine. I mean, we can't heal everything, of course, but you know, we have the medicine that they need in that moment, which is really helpful, especially like you said, as being a channel, because really the main job of being a channel is taking care of yourself and showing up. And then once you show up, spirit like works through you. So it takes a lot of pressure off, like when you see it that way. But still, I'll notice that like I'll get nervous sometimes before my one-on-one sessions, or I'll judge myself, or like afterwards I'll be like was that real or was that true? Or I think it's this doubt that we're all working through of like learning how to really trust our intuition.
Yeah.
Which is interesting that you bring up like trusting yourself, because last night there was a piece of the reading that I heard a word and I was like, it can't be that. I must have heard it wrong. You know what I mean? And so I said it, even though I didn't think it was right. And she totally confirmed that it made so much sense. And I was like, from my perspective, from my ego, it couldn't possibly be that word. But from her position, it was the perfect word that she needed to hear. And so I find like 90% of the work is not getting my own thoughts into the channel and not messing up that way.
Oh, that's so true, Ashley. I love that. And I love that you got that confirmation like right away that you could trust yourself. And what I find is that, you know, often the information comes through and then it's like it's very crystal clear. And when like there's fear or there's anxiety or like we start to question it, that's when it's like, okay, now the ego is here. Like
Yes, I have done a reading for myself when I wasn't in the right mind, and I literally got the answer back, there is no room for ego in the records. And I was like, oh, I got to reword that question. But it was a learning experience of, okay, I really do need to make sure I'm in the right space and I'm asking the questions in the right way. Right. Everything you said, Ashley, was amazing. And I think it is really important too, when us as channelers, that we do remember that to ground ourselves, clear our chakras, maybe hold a piece of selenite to get anything cleared out, so that we are channeling the right information. Oh, and so I do remember what I was going to say now. The Akashic reading, when I got my practice prayer when I first started, one of the things I really enjoyed it said was courage to know the truth. Because sometimes we'll get it and I'll think to myself, I'm just the messenger, but then it's like spot on because we're putting our own projection onto what's being conveyed to us instead of having courage to know the truth. And I left that in the prayer that I do because it is so important, having courage to know the truth, because something might come through and it might be so profound or so scary because it's different than our paradigm. It kind of switches the paradigm, and having courage to know that that is true and know that it resonates with us is really important, and not have that fear.
Yeah, that's so beautiful, Lindsay. And I love that because it really does take that courage. Like, and every time we trust ourselves and every time we lean in, we get that breakthrough, and that's where the courage comes in. Oh, I wish I could talk more. I do have a client in a few moments, but it's been so fun.
Well, thank you, ladies. It's been so fun to have you. And we will put links to Megan Mermaid's channel in the comments, and let us know if you liked it and subscribe to it, and we'll be here. I don't remember what I was going to say. Thanks, everybody, for being an Indigo Goddess, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome.
Thank you. It was so nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great
Sorry,
day.
I'm scatterbrained today.
I am too. It's Mercury and retrograde, so just the fact that we're here and we're breathing and like our clothes are on and they're not inside out and backwards, like we're doing good.
We're doing great.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Talk to you soon. Bye. Mercury retrograde. Everything's subject to change.